Hey traders, Shane from GMT Futures FX. What I'm going to do now is take you through our MACD sell setup. So what I've got on the chart is I've got our key indicators, we've got our MACD Bollinger Bands down the bottom, we have our MACD plotting tool, and we also have our pivots listed on the, or demonstrated on the chart here. So what you're going to see as I take you through this this process is we're going to look at a possible MACD sell setup. So remember that with the MACD we're looking for an entry into one of our zones. So our zones typically follow the fib zones. So what I've done is I've drawn the fib levels on our chart here, and you can see there, for those of you who are used to trading the fib levels, then you'll notice that the key levels there, 76, 61.8, 50, 38.2, 23.6, they're our standard fib levels. So what we're looking for is we're looking for price to set up a high point, which is a pivot high, and then a pivot low. That marks that basically gives us our initial line, or our initial move on our trade. And then, as we know with the Fibonacci retracement strategy, we're looking for price to pull back into one of these zones. Now, depending on what your testing dictates will depend on which zone you're selecting as the highest probability zone. So on this market coffee, we've found that zone 5 is our high probability zone. So we're looking for a trade entry on zone 5. Now, because we've selected a sell setup, we need price to actually move into this area of zone 5, and then we need our MACD to confirm that we're in a sell setup. So basically our MACD does that by, and you can see here that once price is moving up, we've got the MACD green dots, and once we get a change in our MACD, which we have right here, red dots, that confirms our sell setup. So there's our pivot high, pivot low, there's our retracement. And our MACD, we've identified that zone 5 is our most profitable level that we want to take trades in. So once price closes in that area and we've got our red MACD dot, so telling us that we're okay to take a trade, then on the very next, once that bar closes there, that next trade will be taken, and this opens slightly lower, gets us into the trade, market orders in, and we're in the trade. Now you can see there that we get into the trade, and obviously this thing does really well. It hits our target. We've got a specified target in the strategy. So let's have a look at how the strategy is set up to actually set this type of trade up. So we'll go into our format strategy, and this is our GMT Fib Trader strategy. We're trading on the short side, so we're basically trading 24 hours here. So we'll take any trade in that 24-hour period. Now we know coffee is in a 24-hour market, but we've got it set to that. We know that we're not trading the long side on this strategy, we're shorts only. And we've got our MACD entry. So what it's saying is that we basically will take the entry once we've got those those red dots in favor of our sell setup. Now if this was a buy setup, obviously our MACD entry would be true and we'd be looking for the green dots, but we're looking for the red. Now what are the other criteria we've set here? Obviously we haven't got a moving average, so that's not on, but we have so we've got our pivot set. So that's all we've got set up on that trade. There's our zone. So we're looking for a trade in zone 3, zone 4, because we can have multiple zones open, and zone 5, but we only get triggered in when our MACD confirms. So even though we traded through those zones, we didn't actually close lower. Even though we traded through the zones, we didn't have the MACD confirmation. So we've got the MACD confirmation there. So that's great. That's our sell setup. Now that's based on a MACD entry. Now let's have a look and see what happens when we put our moving average in. So we'll put a moving average in, and we'll just load one up now. So I'll insert analysis, just a standard moving average. So what we covered there was we covered the MACD entry, MACD sell entry. So that's fairly stock standard. Now we're going to do the moving average entry. So let's take a look at the moving average entry. So we're going to add a moving average to the chart. So we'll go to insert analysis. We'll just grab our standard exponential moving average. So there's our moving average, and we'll just add we'll make this a 21. Just put a 21 period moving average there. And we'll actually change our, so we'll go into our format strategy and we'll grab there's our moving average. So we can nominate what the length of our moving average is. So we might change that MACD entry to false, and we'll change the moving average to true, and we'll call our MACD, we'll make that, so we'll make it a bit faster, we'll make it a 17, see how that plays out. So traders, what happens here is interesting. We've turned the moving average on, we've set a 9, so this is going to move very quickly. Now, when I've moved that, when I've changed that over to a 9-period moving average, you can see that the price bar that closes below is this actual price bar here. Now it closes closes past that 23. If it closes past that 23.6, then we're not going to get a trade. So it needs to close either one or two places at or near the zone 5. If it closes too close to that zero line, or between the 23 and the zero line, it's not going to take a trade, because it's recognizing that there's not enough room in the trade for us to potentially make money on that trade. So it actually doesn't take the trade, it automatically filters that trade out. But what's interesting is that it's actually thrown up some really good results. So just adding in that moving average, let's have a look at without the moving average. So we'll go back to our standard setup, which was a short, and that was the MACD true, and you'll see that the trade will pop up again. And we'll go here, go to false, and we'll get that trade back. So we have the trade back now, and you'll see 14,513, really good win rate, 56%, really good performance, 485. So that's good, that's really good. But when we do the moving average, it's even better win rate and performance. So let's have a look at our MACD. So we'll change that to false, and we'll bring in our moving average, which is on a 9-period. And you can see there very good results on a weekly basis, tracking beautifully, very low risk, low drawdown strategy, 522 on the overall trade, slightly lower overall profit, but the average trade net profit is fantastic there. A drawdown very low at 750, so that is super. So that's tracking beautifully at the moment. So that's probably one to keep an eye on with the moving average entry. Now, if we go to another setup here, we'll see how that moving average entry plays out. So traders, here we have the pivot high, pivot low. We're looking for a zone 3 here, so we're probably going to get an entry. Now remember, from our last example, we had zone 2, 3, 4 and 5 open up. So in the strategy, we've actually got a number of zones that we've got available. Actually, my apologies, we've got zone 4 and zone 3, 4 and 5. So in the strategy, we've got zone 3, 4 and 5 we can take, and you can see price, there's our pivot high, pivot low. I've got the fibs on there as well. Price pushes back up, it gets into that zone 3 area, and then closes. It needs to close back below the moving average for us to get the trade, and it just does it there. See that 9-period moving average? I've got that on there, and we get the trade entry there. So it needs to trade in and then close back below that moving average, and we're into the trade. So very simple setup for the MACD fib trader. It's very easy to track. We're on shorts. We have our moving average entry. We've got the moving average to 9, and that's really what we've set up here on our fib trader, and that's our short entry.